Hello, everybody. Welcome. So in this video tutorial, I'm going to basically redo what I showed everybody else during class, how to actually create with this assignment called Crazy Color Wheels. And this whole assignment is all about experimenting what happens when you mix the three primary colors of light together in different ways. And basically what you're going to find out is that if you mix two or more individual light colors, you're going to get the secondary colors. So of course you remember that the primary colors for light are red, green, and blue. If you mix them or different two or more of them together, you're going to get the secondary colors, which are yellow, magenta, and cyan. And we're going to do this in a fun way where you can create a piece of art as opposed to a regular old color wheel. This is a crazy color wheel. So if you haven't done so already, as per the directions on the Canvas page, you need to go ahead and make your uh, folder on your OneDrive that's labeled color wheels. And you need to have chosen and downloaded a high resolution image. It has to be a photograph, no icons, no symbols, nothing that is flat art whatsoever. It's got to be a photo of some sort of an actual real three-dimensional thing. Um, and that's about it. So I chose this boot, as you can see here. It's actually a photo that I took. I'm going to show you what I did with it in a moment. So once you have that high resolution photo inside of your project folder, you are ready to roll. So assuming you've got all that done, let's look at what I have here. So I have a photo that I've brought into Photoshop. Now, I did not make a canvas first. I just opened up the photo directly because I didn't need to make a canvas for this first part. In fact, what you're looking at right here is the end of part one. This is a two-part assignment. First part is setup. Second part is create your color wheel. So I'm going to go ahead and in a moment disable my layer mask, but I'd like you to look at my layers panel. I have my photo and then I have a completed mask here. Now, a lot of my students ask me, well, Mr. Sko, how in the world do you mask out which you don't want? And my answer to that is there's several ways to do it. You were taught and you used during our Pixel Perfect activity the paintbrush. And you know that black conceals, white reveals, but that's not the only way to do it. There's other ways. For example, you can use a couple of my favorite tools, which are both the Magic Wand tool or the Quick Selection tool. If you use the Quick Selection tool, you have some options here, but not a lot. I'm going to go ahead and make my brush a little bit bigger so it's sampling more of an area. So my boots are on kind of the floor here, and I'm going to click and drag here. And notice that I get a selection that's actually really darn accurate. Now, if I want to add to that selection, I'm just going to simply go over here, and I'm going to mouse over the area that I don't want. And I let go of my mouse button, and I'm going to press it again. Now here we have a little bit of a problem. My selection actually went over part of my boot heel. I don't want that. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the minus option for my quick selection tool, and I'm going to go ahead and mouse over the area I want to subtract. That's better. So using the quick selection tool all the way around is a good way to go. An alternate to that is the Magic Wand tool, which gives me a little bit more flexibility as well. But I'll go back to my plus, and I'm going to just basically go here, go here. Oops, look, I'm going over my boot now here, so I'm going to click on minus and get rid of that. Now, if this isn't working with you to make your selection, go ahead and just use the Magic Wand tool, or alternatively, the paintbrush. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and deselect everything here because I don't need that. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this extra layer mask. Whoops. And I'm going to go ahead and re-enable my original mask. So you should have an image with the background masked. Okay, once you get to that point, guys, make sure you save your original Photoshop image. So you'll choose File, Save, and then after you do that, you're going to export a PNG file. And the reason why you're going to export that PNG is because you need a flat file that has a transparent background. So PNG files support something called transparency. Basically, what that means is if there's an area of your image that you're working on that does not have any pixels, a PNG file will support that. So you'll export using the same method we've always been using, which is export. Da, 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 da. Quick export as PNG, that works fine. And you're going to browse to your folder. I've already made this, so you're going to go ahead and rename this, done, and make sure it's a PNG. It is, and you'll hit save. All right, so once you've done that, I'm going to go ahead and close this because I don't need it, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new canvas. Now we're in part 2. So I'm going to choose new file. I'm going to go to the print option because I need a high resolution canvas, but I'm going to change the parameters. As it says in the directions, I want an 8x8 at 300 pixels per inch, but the background contents should be black. We need a black canvas for this in order for it to work, and make sure you're in inches in RGB color. Hit create, and here we go. Now we're going to go ahead and place that PNG that we made. So we'll choose place embedded, browse to your image, select it, and there it goes. So as you can see here, guys, my boot has kind of a black background, but that's not on my imported boot, guys. It's the canvas. So there's clear pixels here, or no pixels at all. It's showing the transparent element. So go ahead and click the check mark. There we go. All right. So whoop-de-doo. So we're set up almost. We need to go ahead and duplicate our imported image 2 more times for a total of 3 layers because we have 3 color channels we're going to work with. In a nutshell, remember, we are going to be mixing together red, green, and blue light, or in this case, in image, and we're going to blend them together so you can see yellow, magenta, and cyan together. So let's play a little bit. Let's go ahead and, first of all, we're going to take this image here, imported image, and we're just going to duplicate it 2 more times. Go ahead and do that with me. Now, I'm going to go ahead and rename these 3 layers here. So you need to know how to do this for the exam, but you're basically going to mouse over the layer name, double click on it, and change the name of it. You're going to name each layer either red, green, or blue. So first one is going to be red for me, second one's going to be green, and the last one is going to be blue. Go ahead and do that along with me if you haven't done that already. Okay. So let's start with the top layer. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hide my other 2 layers for now. And I'm going to go ahead and select my top layer, which is in this case red. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to turn off 2 of the color channels. So you remember with every digital image, there's 3 color channels, red, green, and blue. We're only going to show one and hide the other 2. So let's see what happens when we right click on our image thumbnail. You're going to get a small call out menu, and you're going to choose blending options. And when you do so, you're going to get a layer style dialog box. There's a bunch of stuff you can do here. Let's keep it simple, guys, to the task at hand and find the middle box that says advanced blending. Notice that you have channels R, G, and B. So I'm going to turn off green and turn off blue. Notice what happens to my image element. It turns red. Now, let me ask you this. Okay, so yeah, we have our red channel, but what would happen if I turned back on green? Notice how your image will turn yellow. That's weird, but it is actually true. If you mix red and green light together in equal intensities, you're going to get yellow colored light. So that's exactly what happens here. It's very strange. Now, what if I turn off green and turn on blue? You're going to get magenta colored light. So that is really, really trippy, right? So in order to get cyan, you have to mix green and blue together. So I'll turn off my red channel and I'll turn on green. And there's my cyan. Okay, so for this layer, we need red. So I'm going to turn back on my red and turn off my green and blue. And under blending options, I'm going to change it from normal to screen. Okay, awesome. Now let's go ahead and turn off that red layer and let's do the same thing. Turn on your green layer and let's do the same thing here. We're going to go to blending options. We're going to keep green on, turn off red and blue, change your blend mode to screen, hit OK. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with blue. Notice I'm turning off my other layers. It's so I can see what I'm doing a little bit more clearly. When I turn off my other channels, I know I'm doing it right. Oops. Don't forget to make sure screen is your blending option. Okay. Now let's go ahead and turn on all three layers. Ta-da! If you turn all three, you'll notice that your image looks normal again. But if you turn off one, you're going to get your secondary colors. Isn't that wild? So here's our plan. We're going to move and rotate and resize each one of these layers, but we're going to make them overlap in different places so we get those secondary colors. And this is where the fun comes in. So I'm going to take my first layer, my red layer, and I'm going to choose my move tool, and I'm going to simply click and hold, and I'm going to move it. Look what happens. So my red boot moves over, but now I have my other two that are kind of overlapping a little bit. So now I'm going to go ahead and go to my green layer. And with my move tool, I'm going to go over to my original image, and I'm going to go ahead and click and drag, and I'm going to pull down this time. Look at that. So now you're kind of seeing that you're getting something that looks kind of cool and fun. Now, I know this project is actually called Crazy Color Wheels, but it doesn't actually have to be a circular thing or a wheel at all. I am just wanting you guys to reveal all three primaries and be able to actually show the secondaries as well somehow. So if you look really closely with mine, I'm seeing magenta and I'm seeing yellow and a little bit of cyan in some different areas. So I'm going to take my green, which is my lower one here, make sure it's highlighted. And with my move tool, I'm going to make sure that I have show transform controls checked so I can see my bounding box. This is really helpful when I want to do things like rotate and resize. So I'm going to mouse over so this heel section is over my red heel section. And when I do that, I see a bright yellow area. I like that. I think that's really cool. I don't have yellow anywhere else. And yeah, there we go. There's tons of yellow right there. So I'm going to hit the check mark to stamp it down. So now I'm going to go over to my blue, and I'm going to do something similar. I'm going to rotate this, and I'm going to match the heel section of that over here. What I really want to do, I'm going to move this over a bit. I love all of this pink that I'm getting right here. That's my magenta. That's my other secondary color. So I'm going to hit OK. So this is okay and everything like that. It's kind of a mess. I don't really like the way the design looks. Your challenge, guys, is to create some sort of fun design that you like, but I want to be able to clearly see at least one area that's got magenta, yellow, and cyan. And if you're really, really clever about this, you can actually have one area where all three of the secondaries are overlapping, and you'll get white light. But I know that sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, depending on what you're going to be doing here. So I'm going to go ahead and move this over, hit OK, and I'm going to flip my blue one, and then we're going to finish up here. I'm going to make this smaller. Okay, so now I'm getting a design that I think is cool. I got a little bit of yellow, I got some magenta, and I have some cyan too. Now here's what, I'm going to go ahead and shrink down my canvas a little bit and turn off this. Now, I don't really like my design too much, so I'm going to continue to play with this, but here's what I want you guys to make sure that you're doing. Make sure that your design fills your canvas space. I get a lot of students who give me their projects where there's tons of black, tons of negative space. So what I want you guys to do is make sure your elements are big enough. Like I'm going to go ahead and make my red element much, much bigger. Go ahead and show my bounding box again, just so I can fill the space. Yeah. Maybe I want to rotate my green one a little bit so I can fill the corner a little bit better. Now I'm getting a more interesting design, right? Play around with this a little bit, see what you come up with. So if you have a little bit, that's fine. What you can also do is you can actually shift select all three of your layers, and with your show transform control box, you can actually move all three at once. You can also rotate all three at once. So then you can fit your design how you want it to look like as best as possible. And lastly, it is perfectly fine, ladies and gentlemen, to crop part of your color wheel, so to speak, off of the canvas. Okay. Once you get something that you're sure that you like, make sure you save your Photoshop document. Okay, save it as, done. color wheel done, and then you're going to export a PNG, a second one, and you're going to upload that PNG to Canvas. Okay, guys, enjoy, have fun, and let me know if you have any questions.